Okay, so Queer, which is distributed by Mubi. This is the new film from Luca Guadagnino, who made Call Me By Your Name and Suspiria, which I wasn't a huge fan of, and then most recently Challengers, which I did like a lot. And this is an adaptation of a novel by William Burroughs, and many of you may be familiar with William Burroughs' stuff. He wrote Junkie and Naked Lunch. Naked Lunch was famously adapted into a film by David Cronenberg, actually a really interesting film. So this was written pretty much in the wake of Junkie, but it wasn't published for a long time afterwards. It's set in 1950s, Mexico City. Daniel Craig is William Lee, and during the course of the drama, we see him becoming infatuated with Eugene, Jean. But the infatuation is kind of unbalanced to the point that at one point he says to Jean, look, you know, I'll look after you, and all you need to do is just show me some affection every now and then. And the film follows this unequal relationship in the way in which it plays out. And the cast also includes an all but unrecognizable Jason Schwartzman. And then in its later act, Leslie Manville, who is completely unrecognizable, when they go in search of a magical plant bark that is said to increase telepathic power. Anyway, have a quick look at the trailer for Queer.
The wise old queen who taught me that I had a duty to live, you know, to conquer hate with knowledge and sincerity and love.
The difficulty is to convince someone else he is really possible.
So here's the thing. So that's it's from a script by Justin Gretzky, who we mentioned before because he's the partner of Celine Song, who made Past Lives. Celine Song came on the show, and you know, it was one of our favorite films of last year.
And she was a top guest.
She's a fantastic guest. And so therefore the same writer as well as Challengers, which was written as a spec script. And if you've read any William Burroughs, you'll know that trying to adapt William Burroughs for the screen is very difficult, because a lot of the stuff that his writing does is it's very disruptive, and also for the time that it was written, it was also considered to be sort of very, very out there and outre. I think this is really well done, and I actually think it's my favorite Luca Guadagnino film, my previous favorite actually being Challengers, so I think this is a very good collaboration with the screenwriter. It's got a fantastic central performance by Daniel Craig. I mean, we've all seen Daniel Craig in a range of different things, whether it's, you know, Enduring Love, or I still think he was the best of all the Bonds so far, although actually we'll get onto the subject of Roger Moore later on in the show. And the film has this kind of really wonderful, tactile, woozy, slightly dreamlike quality. And so it's got its feet on the ground, but it's also got its head somewhere sort of up there in the air. And when Luca Guadagnino was talking about it, he compared it to, he said he was inspired by the works of Powell and Pressburger. And we've talked about Powell and Pressburger a lot on the show, because there's been a brilliant BBC series recently showcasing Powell and Pressburger's films, including Red Shoes. And if you've seen Red Shoes, you'll know the whole thing about it is it's like a kind of fever dream. And in a way, there is a similar sort of fever dream quality to Queer. It's, you know, it's realistic and grounded, but it's absolutely got its head up in the clouds. It's got these anachronistic needle drops, which mean that although it is, you know, it's a period story, it's kind of timeless. And one of the really interesting things about it is that it would make a perfect double bill with David Cronenberg's Naked Lunch, although they're very, very different films. I mean, Cronenberg obviously comes out of the whole, you know, body horror area. But there is a weird sort of similarity of purpose in that they're both trying to make visual and trying to make into cinema the peculiarity of Burroughs' prose. I mean, bear in mind, Burroughs wrote this whilst he was awaiting trial for accidentally killing his wife. So, you know, the whole thing happens in a very, very dark period. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, because a lot of William Burroughs stuff is very dark and it's very hard to approach. But Daniel Craig is fantastic. I think it's a career best performance by him. There's been a lot of awards talk, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see him showing up on all the major awards radars. I think it's really good, and it is my favorite Guadagnino film so far. It's called Queer, out in cinemas. Do go and see it. I mean, it's unusual, and it certainly treads over the line, but in a way that's really, really fascinating. And I think it's also oddly inclusive. Hey, Simon, apparently we've got 20 seconds to tell people how fabulous NordVPN is.
Okay, 1, you get access to streaming services in other countries. 2, you save money on booking holidays as well as having premium cybersecurity on your devices, and all for the price of a coffee a month.
To get your exclusive NordVPN deal, go to nordvpn.com/kmtake for a huge discount on your NordVPN plan and a bonus gift.
It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description below.